You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, I'm so excited to have Dr. Tega Edwin here. She is an award-winning career development researcher, educator, and speaker. She's the owner of Her Career Doctor, where she helps women who are unhappy at work get clear about who they are to find a fulfilling career and job search with confidence. So welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Okay. I've loved just like being in your presence over the past few minutes as well. And I'm just really excited about this episode because I know that this is the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, but I do know that a lot of people who are listening to this are also just kind of like really confused at their careers. Some people are wanting to find part-time jobs and do part-time business.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that this opens up so much more of like an intentional conversation with people in terms of, what they feel like they're really meant to be doing. Yeah. So the first question I guess I have for you is, how did you get into this? How did you know that this was your purpose?
So now this is something we were talking about before we started recording, right? Let me give many contexts. So when it comes to that word purpose and passion, I always like to define them because in my work, I saw that a lot of women were staying in unhappy situations because they were trying to find their purpose or find their passion or figure it out. And I realized that the way they were thinking about it was keeping them stuck, so to speak. And so I guess my answer to that is I realized it was my purpose after I started. And that's just because by nature, so I'm Christian. So I believe that my purpose is to glorify God. And my career allows me to do that. So I get to serve women, I get to serve people. But I realized it was a passion before I figured out it was a purpose, right? Meaning that I got really interested in it and went deeper in it and fell in love with the work. And as I was doing the work, it was like, okay, hold up, I'm making a difference. This is why I was put on the earth, at least for this period of my life. So I just wanted to give all that context because the way I discovered it was a passion, I actually started my foray into career development at the elementary school levels. If you can imagine, my story is always like fascinates people in career because they don't start there. So I was on like the healthcare research track and I was not happy at all. It was miserable. I was like, I hate this. And I didn't know what else to do. So I had to take a step back to figure out who I was so I could find fulfilling work. And I realized counseling was that pathway for me. And back then I really loved being around kids. So I went to do school counseling. And I happened to be in a school district that was pay by performance, meaning we got paid based off of how our students performed. And one of the ways school counselors were measured was how our fifth grade students did on a career development test, a career development exam. So obviously I had to prepare them for that. And that's how I got into career work. And from then I had shifted on I did that at the elementary level for a while, middle school. Then when I was getting my PhD, I started doing it on a college campus with like grad students, undergrad students, and community members. I think that's when the light came on for me because I realized that for so many people, their career is like this weight on their shoulder where they're trying to figure out what to do with their lives, so to speak. And when they can't figure it out, they feel really stuck. They feel really unhappy. And so doing this work with them and watching the light come on, watching them feel relief and feel like, okay, yes, now I know what I'm doing with my life. That was so rewarding and fulfilling for me. So that's how I got into career development with adults. And Her Career Doctor came up because after my PhD, I went to work as a faculty member. So I train counselors at a university. And like one semester into that, I love the work. I still do. I was like, I miss the clients. I miss sitting in front of someone and helping them figure out their career, figure things out. And so I knew I was going to have to start my own business to fulfill that aspect of my passion. And that's how Her Career Doctor was born.
Ah, beautiful. I love that. And one thing that really spoke to me was this whole, a lot of the women that you work with are getting confused with and really putting a lot of pressure on the purpose, right? And I know that a lot of the women in my community as well, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to have things like perfectly aligned and have the perfect fit. How would you say, so when you said, that really keeps them stuck, Explain that. Explain that for everyone listening.
Yeah. Okay. So I found that people are looking for their passion, right? They say, I want to find my passion. And the thing I always say is like, your passion was not a set of keys that you lost and now need to find. It's not just going to fall on you from the sky like, here's my passion. You know what I mean? If you look up that word passion, it is an intense desire or enthusiasm for something. And so that means by its very definition, you have to know what the something is to become intensely enthusiastic about it. And that led me to realize that really what passion is, it's the fruit or it's the tree that comes out of the seeds that are your interest. You have to know where your interests are. And we all have a lot of interest. I'm interested in plants, in interior design, in career, in fashion, in travel. But are all of those the intersection of what I want to make a living in, as well as go deeper in and develop skills around? Not really. I mean, I love some of them, but I don't want to make a living growing plants. You know what I mean? But career development, that excited me. I wanted to be skilled at it. I wanted to go deeper into it. And so as I learned more about career development, my passion was revealed. And so that's what I tell people is passion is revealed in action. You have to be actively exploring something, engaging in things, trying things out, experimenting to figure out what you're passionate about, and then go with that. But what most people, like I said, they sit down, they think, well, if I just reflect or if I just journal, I just sit and think about it, I'll figure out what I'm passionate about. But it's like, that's the beginning. You have to then try it out to see if you even like it enough to go deep enough for it to become a passion. So that's how I would say it's like the way to get unstuck is just do some exploration. And it's not always like, I'm not saying get a new job. Sometimes it's you explore by volunteering, you explore by taking classes, you explore by helping a friend out to realize, is this an area that I really care about?
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that really comes up for me as you're speaking about this is perfectionism, right? And the whole, like, we have to have everything perfect before we even start. And from what you're saying, it seems like you have that perspective of just get started somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I want to tell people, just take decisive action, because you're right. Like, as women, I think some of it is we're afraid of failing in public, which is why we want it to be perfect, right? I don't want to start something in front of everybody and then it bombs. And the reason why we're afraid of that, because now it's not that the thing failed, it's that I'm a failure. That's how a lot of people think about failure. It's when something fails, they tie it to their identity. So I didn't fail at a thing, I am a failure. And so I think there has to be that separation of, no, many things fail. You can't find success without failure, but you have to be okay with trying things out before they're perfect, because do we ever achieve perfection in anything? In my experience, the answer is no. And I think people have to come to that realization.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. I love that. And just like hearing you talk about that and hearing you talk about the perfection and just kind of like start where you are, and we are really afraid of failure. I think one thing that I also say is that we're really afraid of success as well. Right. So it's like, it's equally, for some people it's more the fear of failure. For some people it's also a lot of the fear of success. Do you ever work with clients who come from really overwhelming jobs and jobs where they feel really burnt out and they're kind of afraid to step into something else because they're afraid to be in that place again?
Yeah, for sure. The fear never goes away. And I tell clients this all the time. If you keep waiting until you don't feel fear to do something, you're never going to do it. Fear doesn't go away. And so, yes, a lot of my clients, whether they're afraid of trying something else and hating it just as much, they're afraid of trying something else and not being good at it, or they're afraid of trying something else and being good at it. And now they have to live up to those expectations, right? Like they have to actually show up and be this expert or be this skilled person. But fear is the biggest thing that keeps most of the women I work with stuck, keeps them from, most people, fear is the thing that keeps most people from taking action. Let's be real.
And what are some of the ways that you would like help people to overcome that?
Yeah. It's because, as I said that, I'm like, it's ironic because fear is the thing that keeps most people from taking action, but action is the only way to get through fear. And so it's this catch-22 of, if you don't do the thing, you're always going to be afraid of the thing. And so I think that the first way I help people work through that is to really reframe how they see fear. Fear is an emotion, just like happiness, sadness, guilt, shame, joy. Fear is an emotion, which means it often occurs without our conscious thought. It's very different from being afraid. Being afraid is when we start making decisions based on our fear. And so I think the first place I always start people is when you feel fear, you need to acknowledge it, recognize that, oh yeah, that heart racing, that sweaty pits, that the racing thoughts, I'm feeling a bit of fear right now. And at the same time, and notice I didn't say the word but, and meaning it can coexist. I still know that I want this thing. I need to do this thing. So I'm going to feel the fear and do the thing anyway. Because until you actually start doing it, like you do it and it's like, oh, wait, that worked. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Oh, crap, that's still working. I'm going to keep doing it. And then one day you realize that you've stopped being afraid of that thing, but there's a whole new fear because as you keep going, new fears will keep showing themselves. And so I think it's really just reframing that mindset of fear is an emotion. It's going to show up. Stop waiting for it to go away, because if you do, you'll remain stuck where you are. So that now I had something else, but then I totally just like left my head. But that's the first thing I will say. If it comes back, I will let you know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it seems like it's so interesting because as coaches, I feel like we help people with such similar things, but just like in slightly different industries, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that we kind of talked about this a little bit more before we hit record, but this is the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, and I will be asking you a few business related questions specifically for your business as well. But another thing that I'm really curious about, because I know that so many people listening to this as well are probably just like, do I start my own business? Mm-hmm. Do I leave my career? What do I leave my career to? And, that's where the analysis paralysis starts coming in, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if I'm not doing what I'm doing right now, if I'm not doing my 9 to 5, what do I do? What do I do with my life? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do I make that decision? And so what are some of the steps that you help your clients in your community with towards getting that clarity of what the next step is for their life?
Yeah. So first, I remember the thing that I said left me, and then I have an answer. The other thing, mindset shift for that fear piece is one thing I always say is your desire for fulfillment has to be bigger than your fear of failure. So as long as you keep magnifying your fear, you won't take action. And that kind of leads me into this, because it's also then don't start a business just to escape a toxic situation, because you'll either create toxic cycles in your business, or very soon you'll be unhappy. You have to start that business from clarity and this desire to have an impact and to change the lives of someone or group of people. Mm-hmm. So the thing, and this is what I was telling you, where I've had some women who have come and worked with me, and after our work together, they realized a business is the right move for me. And I'm like, perfect, great. Let's talk about next steps, because the key is that clarity. And it's really, I found that it's clarifying. Ultimately, it always comes back to who are you and what is the impact you want to make in the world. With the who are you piece, it's what are your values? What's really, really important to you? What are your interests? Again, those are those interests that might lead to passions one day. So what are you interested in? And what skills do you have? Now, mind you, skills can be developed. So your skills are not finite. You might have some skills. Now you can develop new skills. And then when you take all of that and you think to yourself, okay, what is the impact I want to make in the world? What do I want to be known for? What do I want them to say in my eulogy when I die? That sounds a bit morbid, but go with it. Like when you just think about that, I think it then helps you see, okay, business, what makes sense, right? Like what business will I start that really fits with what I know about myself and the impact that I want to make in the world. I think it starts with that clarity. Don't just do a business because it looks successful for somebody else, because it might not be successful for you. And business is hard AF. And so if you do it because somebody else is doing it, when it gets hard, you have no reason to stick with it, right? The thing that keeps you going when it gets hard is that passion, is that impact that you want to make. And so it's important to start with that clarity so that you can persevere, but also build a business that actually feeds you also.
Beautiful. Yeah. And my next question with that too is why did you decide on starting a business versus going into another career?
So it's interesting because I think of our businesses as a part of our careers. And I tell my clients this too, because jobs and careers are two different things, right? So a job is something you do usually for money one time, maybe a couple of times. A career is the amalgamation of all the things you do to advance a life mission. So it includes your education, your vocation, your avocation. And so your business is a part of your career journey, depending on the kind of career that you're building. Now, that being said, for me, I already had a job that I really liked. I still have the job. I was teaching as faculty. I just missed another aspect of okay, back to what I said of the impact I wanted to make, right? So in my job, I make an impact by putting out what I hope is great counselors that will help other people in their mental health, because I train counselors. But I also have this intense, deep desire to help more women experience life satisfaction. And from my work and from my research, I know that a big piece of our life satisfaction is our career satisfaction. And so that became a space that I knew I wanted to shape and make significant contribution to. And that's how Her Career Doctor was born, was, yes, I can keep training counselors and that will be good. And at the same time, I'll never do that work of helping women specifically advance in their careers, which is why I started my business, because there was a specific impact that I want to have. And my business was the only way to fulfill that.
So it came out of that passion.
I take that back. I could have gone to a job, like I could have taken a part-time job and done that work. But I think I just have an entrepreneurial soul.
Yeah. And that was going to be my next question too, just to kind of like bring anyone who's listening to this, like have that fire lit underneath them too, right? Like, what are the skills, or like, what were the passions that you really knew that you possessed that were like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Yeah. I'm going to run this business, because it's so much easier sometimes to go into a job, right? Because someone else is giving you money and like, everything's nice and secure.
Right.
Well, why do you continue to do this work? And like, what, I guess one, you continue to do this work. So let's explain that, but also, and this just left me, this last piece that I wanted to ask you. So let's start there.
That's our theme for today. We're both, things are leaving both our brains. I genuinely, I'm going to think and speak at the same time, because I don't know the answer to that quite yet. And I too was going to say something before that. It really is the theme. Things are leaving our heads. But I will say I had started businesses before this. I've had a makeup artistry business. I've had a yoga coaching business. I mean, and this is business in air quotes. None of them were as successful as what I'm doing now. But I just let you know what I've done. Makeup artistry, yoga, like yoga coaching, doing hair. This was back when I was in my master's degree. I'm sure there's something else, but I've dabbled. I think some of it is nurture. My mother was an entrepreneur. She started multiple businesses and built a very successful business. And my dad actually retired to lead, and now they both left that. So that was one. I think one is nurture. Two, and this is what I was going to say. It's not for everyone. I've had clients say, I don't want to run my own business. I just want to work for someone and go home and be done with work. So if I say, like, what is the thing that keeps me going? I honestly just want to make an impact that is tied to who I believe God has called me to be. Because if I was doing this work in an agency, and then I did do, I told you I did career counseling with an agency before. It very much is, you help whoever walks through the door, and they have a way of doing things, or maybe methods that I need to follow, or tools that are available to me that are only available where I don't have access to everything. So I can still do the work. And at the same time, I don't have a lot of autonomy and choice over how I do the work. And that was important to me. Like, I have 2 signature programs. This is right now, for the most part, the only main ways that I work with clients. That's a choice that I make because I know that those 2 methods work to get the results. I wouldn't be able to do that somewhere else. So I think maybe it's just a personality thing. I don't like people telling me what to do. I like to be independent. So maybe that's what it is. I just like the idea of building something for myself. Also, there's a desire at some point to really build, that's what I'm building, a location-free business. I want to travel. I want to see the world. I don't want to be in one place forever. And working for a company is not that easy. Like I was telling my husband, I was like, you know what? I want to get to the point where I love my job, but I only want to work like 6 months a year. I don't want to work every day. I can't do that if I work for a company. So I think some of those desires drive the decision, as well as just my personality and the experiences I saw of my mom being a business owner. I think those are my answers.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, those are great answers. Yeah. And from what you're saying, it also, what comes across for me is just like, there's also a level of creativity and, like you were saying, autonomy, right? So it's just like, yeah, you could do it for someone else. But when you have that creative edge, and when you have that flair for doing things your own way, and for creating, your own branding, and knowing that the people who are coming to you because they want Dr. Tega, and they want your specific approach. It's a different type of feeling of reward, is it not?
Yeah, it really is. And when you said that, it reminded me of something. One of the reasons why I got into even that minor yoga coaching business that wasn't successful, I remember thinking that I wanted to create. I wanted to create art. And in my head, I know art is not just paintings, right? Art is things. And so back then I thought, you know what, I'm going to create art with my body. So I started a yoga Instagram account and I would share pictures. That was me creating art with my yoga poses, and it grew quite a bit. And that was what then led into the coaching piece. But yes, there is that desire to create and to build and take something from nothing and put it out into the world. It's so rewarding.
It's so funny because I also did yoga and wellness coaching back, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago. So, and yeah, it just started like same as I was bored in my 9 to 5 really. And I was just like, you know what, I need some sort of secondary thing that I'm also going to hold myself accountable to. Did my yoga teacher training, started waking up at 5:30 in the morning to do my yoga practice. I had started an Instagram account and I was like, ooh, I can do yoga. This is really cool. And then I got in, right? Like I got into this world of like, I can design things. And I also feel like even the creation of your coaching packages and the career doctor or her career doctor that's creativity. Like those aren't things that you would be able to get if you were doing the same thing at a job, right? It's the whole packaging of your offers and being like, okay, this is the structure that I think is the most results focused for my people. And this is like, that's all creative energy as well, that you just wouldn't get when you're following someone else's structure. Sure. And I think it's even making me think too, that like, I know that business is so masculine systems, but this conversation is also really reviving so much of like, the feminine, the flow is what you don't get a lot in your 9 to 5s or in your jobs as well, when you're looking at the same types of things. And some people just need that, right? Some people just need that creative energy. And sometimes we can find it outside of work, right? Which is also totally fine and totally, acceptable for everyone here who's just like, well, I don't want to be a business owner, right? It's not for everyone, but for the people who it is for, it's just like, that's a really great piece of creativity as well.
I totally agree with that for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah. And so I think my second question with that, and I don't know, maybe I need to like rewatch this because I still don't remember what I was going to say, but now I'm thinking, like, what skill sets do you believe that you really needed to hone in on in order to make a successful business happen for yourself?
Oh, Lord. There's too many. I'm still developing them. Honestly, skill sets is hard because, and this is what I told you before, skills are not finite. So I've developed new skills since I've been running my business for 3 years, and I will keep developing skill sets. I will say though, attitudes that I felt I had to develop, that perseverance piece. Because like I said, business is not a walk in the park. I mean, it is for some people, but for me, it's like, it's work, but I enjoy the work, which is why that alignment is, but I've had to persevere. I still do when a launch doesn't go well, or a proposal doesn't get accepted. It's like, okay, are you going to give up now, or are you going to keep going? And I think there has to be I've had to develop a certain ability to keep reminding myself of why I'm doing it so that I can continue to persevere when it does get hard. I've had to get very clear on why I'm doing it. And I've developed I encourage myself quite a bit. I have my business bestie, she's like, you're always looking at the positives. I'm like, well, because looking at the negatives doesn't help. It will just make you want to give up. I think I've developed that even more so over the past 3 years. So that's an attitude. I think patience. I've had to develop my patience skill set. I'm still developing my patience skill set because it's easy, I found for myself, so I'll speak for myself, it's easy to see everybody else's shiny stuff online and wonder where my own shine is. And I literally have to say to myself, Tega, that person has been doing this for 11 years. You've been doing it for 3. I need you to calm down. Right? Like, it's literally conversations with myself of chill, be patient. But everyone who's successful it's like overnight success takes 10 years, right? Like, that's what they say. And so it's really, I've had to develop that ability to talk myself down of the overachieving and the perfectionism, talk myself down from wanting to do all the things and wanting to go, or beating myself up when it doesn't go the way I wanted to, and really just like go with the flow of, okay, this is what happened. This is what didn't happen. We'll just keep going and see what's next. So those are attitudes, I would say. I'm still trying to think like technical skills. A lot. I mean, but I think some of them are specific to my business. I've developed my graphic design skills, my video editing skills, my audio editing skills.
Especially in the beginning when you're doing everything, right?
Exactly. And even now that I finally have one person on my team, a virtual assistant who's doing quite a few things, I'm developing my management skills, like my ability to give her feedback and to be clear with my instructions and to be patient with her. So I think it's ever evolving with the skill set piece.
Yeah. Well, I love how you put out the personality pieces, because I feel like that's incredible. This is like what everyone needs to hear, because so many people are just like, this is what I imagine my business being like. And then 3 months in, it's just like, what is this?
Like never that. It's never what you imagine.
But we
keep imagining.
Yeah. And I always say, I don't know if you know Grant Cardone. I really like his stuff. Yeah. So I really like his 10X rule. It's always really helped me. And it's the whole, like, we often underestimate like what it's going to take for us to get there. So if we just 10X what we feel like we think we need to do, we're going to land somewhere, and we're going to land somewhere that's like above the original expectations that we shot for. And I think as long as, because then what ends up happening usually is like, well, I didn't hit the 10X goal, right? It's just like, it's not about the goal. It's about who you're becoming as a result of trying to achieve that goal. And as long as you can keep the intention there, I mean, like, you have a really successful business, 3 years in the making. And like you said, you might not, your inner mean girl might be like, this isn't successful yet, right?
Really
But we all know that you're doing amazing work. So yeah. So thank you so much for being here. Tell us where we can find you, and any like last thoughts or parting words or parting resources that you want to share with everyone.
Yeah, we're just Her Career Doctor everywhere. So Instagram, Her Career Doctor, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, on LinkedIn, Tega Edwin. So I think I'm pretty easy to find, just a Her Career Doctor. Yeah. Parting words that I will give to the aspiring business owner, and I insinuated when I was saying my own story, is just don't compare your journey. You're literally not on the same journey with anybody else. So you can't expect yourself to go at the same pace that they're going. So just stop it. Like, your brain loves to compare, but stop it. Stop it in its track when it tries, because I don't think anything positive comes from comparing yourself to anyone else, unless you're comparing yourself to an old version of yourself. Anything else is not worth it. It's not going to yield results. It's not going to be a positive outcome for you. But I think it's so easy to fall into that trap for new business owners. So that's what I would leave them with, is don't compare yourself or your journey with anyone else's.
Beautiful. Yeah. And for everyone who's also listening, who's just like, I've done business, or, like maybe I think I want to do part-time something else, but I'm not really sure. Tega has so many amazing resources, and I will definitely leave them in the show notes. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjlorero.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.